Geneva, this is Air India 101. We are Abhi Mont Blanc.
Negative Air India 101, you are 5 miles away.
An Air India Boeing 707 is flying over the Alps. They are trying to land in Geneva, but their navigation instruments aren't working. The captain is not sure where he is. Outside it is dark and the clouds are thick. It is snowing heavily. Visibility below the clouds is zero. The plane enters the cloud layer. Somewhere ahead of them is Mont Blanc. Inside the plane sits Dr. Homi Bhabha. He is leading India's nuclear weapons program and he is a huge target for India's political rivals. In the Geneva control tower, a radar operator stares at the plane on his screen. He sees the plane's blip descending. He didn't clear it to land. And suddenly, the blip disappears from screen. The plane never lands in Geneva. But this isn't the first time. 16 years earlier, another Air India flight disappeared over Mont Blanc in eerily similar conditions. This is the story of Air India Flight 101.
Wyngx.
January 24th, 1966. Bombay's Santa Cruz Airport. Air India 101 is preparing for a journey to London. This is a Boeing 707 called the Kanchenjunga. Air India is one of the first airlines in the world to buy the new 707. At the helm is 48-year-old Captain Joseph D'Souza, a seasoned pilot with countless hours in the sky. 16 years earlier, November 3rd, 1950, same airport. Air India Flight 245, the Malabar Princess, a Lockheed Constellation, is also bound for London. This specific plane was the first Air India plane to fly internationally. It's an iconic plane, and India Post had honoured it with its own stamp. Its captain, 31-year-old Alan Saint, has over 1,000 hours of flying time in the sky. But no amount of confidence and experience can prepare them for what lay ahead. 2 planes, 2 journeys, and 1 mountain, Mont Blanc, waiting for them both. 1950. The Malabar Princess lifts off from Bombay and arrives uneventfully in Cairo. 1966. The Kanchenjunga departs Bombay and arrives in Beirut. The next leg for both the planes is Treacherous. The planes must cross the European Alps, a region that is notorious for its unpredictable weather and unforgiving terrain. First, let's focus on the Malabar Princess. 1950. The plane departs from Cairo, and soon they are in France flying over the Alps. As soon as they get there, thick clouds begin to form. Visibility is almost zero. This is a time before GPS, and the pilot must make decisions based on their skill, analog instruments, and experience. Suddenly, a thunderstorm appears from nowhere and begins battering the plane. They are flying just above the safe altitude, but flying the plane steady is becoming difficult. As the pilots keep looking outside, trying to find landmarks, inside the plane, the altimeter slowly starts descending. 19,000 feet, 18,000 feet. Somewhere behind these clouds is Mont Blanc. 17,000 feet. The pilots are flying blind. Just a grey expanse everywhere. And then, with absolutely no warning, the peaks of Mont Blanc emerge from behind the grey skies. They are impossibly close to take evasive action. Impact. The plane slams into the mountain at top speed. The collision is catastrophic. Wreckage is scattered across the glacier. There are no survivors. Mont Blanc has claimed its first Air India plane. But 16 years later, the mountain waits once more. The Kanchenjunga is on its way. In Beirut, Captain Joseph D'Souza and his crew are conducting pre-flight checks for Air India 101. This is a special flight. Dr. Homi Bhabha, the father of India's nuclear program, is boarding the plane at Beirut, headed for an important nuclear conference in Vienna. Back in India, history is unfolding. Indira Gandhi is being sworn in as the new Prime Minister after the sudden, mysterious death of Lal Bahadur Shastri just 2 weeks earlier. India is at a crossroad. The nation has fought wars with both China and Pakistan in recent years. 2 years ago, China detonated its first atomic bomb, shifting the balance of power in the region. In response, to protect its sovereignty and to serve as a deterrent against Pakistan and China, India decided to build an atomic bomb as well, led by Dr. Homi Bhabha. He boldly declared, India could build a bomb in 18 months. With the Cold War ongoing, and with India aligning itself closely with Russia, this statement didn't go down well with the United States. At around the same time, international pressure mounted on India to sign the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, a treaty that would have permanently shut the door from India ever developing nuclear weapons. Both Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri and Dr. Homi Bhabha refused to sign. And then, Prime Minister Shastri died under mysterious circumstances. And now, Dr. Bhabha is boarding Air India 101. And there are whispers of forces that preferred he never made it to Vienna. Whilst conducting pre-flight checks, Captain D'Souza identifies a problem with the plane. One of the 2 VOR receivers is malfunctioning. Back in those days, VORs were how you'd navigate from one place to another. When you are tuned in to a VOR station, you'd know which direction to fly in to reach that station. But in order to know how far away from that station you are, you would use a second receiver for a cross-bearing reference. With 2 receivers, you'll know both heading and the distance. But with only one receiver, you'll only know which direction to fly in. You won't know where you are. You could be anywhere on the line. This highlights why having all your tools working together seamlessly is so important, whether in the sky or in business. And that is where our sponsor Odoo comes in, an all-in-one business management platform designed to help you navigate challenges with precision. Just like a reliable VOR system keeps a plane on course, Odoo ensures your business stays on track with integrated apps for building your website, for project management, inventory tracking, and much, much more. Here at Wyngx, we used Odoo's website builder to build our own website. The process was simple, intuitive, and efficient. In just 4 easy steps, I chose the type of website I wanted, selected my color palette, chose the pages and features, and picked a beautiful theme. In no time, the website was live and ready for further customization. With drag and drop tools, animations, Google Fonts, and more, Odoo gave us the flexibility to create exactly what we needed. Whether you're charting the skies or managing your business, Odoo provides the tools to get you there. Visit odoo.com to learn more. And remember, your first app is free for life with unlimited hosting and support. And plus, a free custom domain for 1 year. So check out the link in the bio and start with your own website. Air India's policy allows flights to continue with just one operational VOR receiver. But the final decision rests with the captain. Captain D'Souza faces a choice. VOR systems use very high frequency waves. They require a clear line of sight between the aircraft and the ground station to function. Over mountainous regions like the Alps, these signals can be blocked by towering peaks, causing periodic blackouts. With only one receiver, these blackouts could leave the plane completely blind, like we saw with the Malabar Princess. But grounding the aircraft for repairs isn't a simple choice. It would mean hours of delays, causing a domino effect of disruptions across Air India's tightly packed schedule. And there is one more thing. Dr. Homi Bhabha cannot miss the conference. The show must go on. The engines roar to life, and Air India Flight 101 takes off from Beirut towards the snow-capped peaks of the Alps, and a fate etched in history. The Kanchenjunga slices through the frigid Alpine air. Outside, darkness presses against the cockpit window. Thick clouds smother the peaks below. Somewhere beneath that suffocating darkness lies Mont Blanc, silent, waiting. Air India 101 begins its descent towards Geneva, navigating blind in the night sky. Italian ATC hands them over to Geneva Control. A voice crackles through the headset. Air India 101 maintained flight level 190 until passing Mont Blanc. Report passing. Captain de Souza acknowledges the instruction. For now, they hold altitude. But they are flying blind. With only one working VOR receiver, Air India 101 can only tune into the Geneva VOR for heading calculations, but not to the Lyon VOR for distance measurement. And tonight, in poor visibility, it's not enough. Under such circumstances, pilots can use what's called a procedural descent, a predefined descent pattern used when radar guidance or instruments aren't available. The procedural descent, however, requires them to hold altitude until Mont Blanc and then allows them to begin descending. But wait, if he has no distance measurement, how will he know if he has crossed Mont Blanc? He decides to check how many seconds have passed since his last waypoint and then uses his experience to guess where he is. But tonight, the plane is flying against strong headwinds, which is slowing them down and throwing off his calculations. Just enough to matter. The captain calls the ATC. Air India 101, we are Abim Mont Blanc. His voice is steady. In the Geneva control tower, the radar operator frowns. The blip on his screen doesn't match the report. Negative Air India 101, you are 5 miles from Mont Blanc. The aircraft isn't where the captain believes it to be. It's still approaching the waypoint, not above it. Roger, Air India 101, the captain replies calmly. But 19,000 feet, only 2,300 feet above Mont Blanc's highest peak, is no place for error. Outside, the darkness is absolute. Clouds are everywhere. The peaks are invisible but omnipresent. And then, for some reason, the plane loses altitude. The radar operator sees the blip begin to descend. 18,000 feet. Why is the plane descending? Has he crossed Mont Blanc yet? 17,000 feet. The operator leans closer to the screen. 16,000 feet. His voice sharpens, rising with urgency. Air India 101, do you copy? Static. Air India 101, come in. Nothing. The blip vanishes. The operator stares at the empty radar screen. Silence crashes down on the tower. A plane, its passengers, its crew, its ambitions. All gone. Panic begins to grip the airwaves. Search and rescue teams are scrambled. Helicopters and planes fan out over the icy vastness of the Alps. Memories of the Malabar Princess hang heavy in the minds of the rescuers. For 24 agonizing hours, the silence is deafening. There is no wreckage. There are no survivors. Nothing. But on the second day, a breakthrough. A Swiss search plane spots the wreckage. Scattered across Mont Blanc's unforgiving massif. The scene is harrowing. The temperature plummets to negative 24 degrees Celsius. Twisted metal lies frozen in time, and fragments of the aircraft pierce the snow-capped slopes. One look tells the rescuers everything they need to know. There are no survivors. 117 lives gone in an instant. And among the dead is Dr. Homi Bhabha. And with him gone, a troubling question begins to echo. Was this tragedy truly an accident? As investigators comb through the wreckage, an unsettling detail emerges. The debris field stretches over 25 kilometers, an unusually vast area. In 1950, when the Malabar Princess met its end in the same place, the wreckage remained concentrated in one place. But here, the remains of the Kanchenjunga are scattered far and wide, across peaks, valleys, and frozen glaciers. But what if the Kanchenjunga never hit the mountain? What if it blew up mid-air and its pieces fell all over the mountain? In 2013, a book titled Conversations with the Crow claimed to expose secret dialogues with a former CIA director. In its pages, the author alleges that the CIA deliberately blew up Air India Flight 101 to eliminate Dr. Homi Bhabha, following the alleged assassination of Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri just weeks earlier. The goal? To derail India's nuclear ambitions. During the Cold War, both the CIA and the KGB were no strangers to covert operations and political assassinations. The theory that Air India 101 was deliberately sabotaged isn't entirely implausible, but skeptics argue that orchestrating such an operation over the treacherous Alps with no traceable evidence left in the wreckage would have been an impossible task. The official investigation, however, paints a more grounded picture. It concludes that the crash was a result of human error compounded by miscommunication. Captain D'Souza, flying with only one operational VOR receiver, relied on approximate time calculations and instinct to judge their position. When Geneva ATC informed him they were 5 miles from Mont Blanc, the captain likely misinterpreted the instruction, believing they had crossed Mont Blanc 5 miles ago. Believing it was now safe to descend, he began the procedural descent. In the cockpit, everything was calm, eerily calm. The altimeter ticked down. 18,000 feet, 17,000 feet, 16,000 feet. The engines hummed steadily. There were no alarms, no frantic voices, just the steady rhythm of routine operations, blind to the catastrophe ahead. And then, the clouds parted. For the briefest of moments, the looming face of Mont Blanc revealed itself. A wall of ice and rock at 15,584 feet. There was no time to react. Impact. The Kanchenjunga was obliterated in an instant. 117 lives gone. Both the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder were never recovered. Without these crucial pieces of evidence, the final moments of Air India 101 remained shrouded in uncertainty. Theories continue to swirl. Questions linger in the freezing winds of Mont Blanc. Was this a tragic miscalculation or a silent execution written in the clouds over the Alps?